Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, so pleased to have in the studio with us today Scott Silber. He's the executive director of the Allgire Foundation. I am joined by my co-host, that is Kristen Fogel. She is the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc. They are celebrating their 20th anniversary this year with some very cool things in Liberty Station. Swing by and say hi to Kristen. How you doing, Kristen?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Beautiful. I know you got a question for Scott right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate. Just can you tell us a little bit about your mission, and then maybe we can get into some ways that you fulfill your mission.
Absolutely. So Allgire General Contractors is a 35-plus year general contractor in San Diego. We've been building affordable housing for that entire time, and we wanted to give back to the affordable housing community in some way, so we created the Allgire Foundation, a nonprofit, a 501c3 that is nimble and is very focused on helping residents of affordable housing through move-in kits, the types of things that some of us take for granted: pots, pans, cutlery, plates, laundry detergent, things that we can hopefully provide to residents of new communities as they move in, give them a little boost up. We also do quite a bit of food drives, whether it's a spring harvest that we have coming up with fresh fruits and vegetables, something to raise the awareness of the food insecurities and high inflation and the difficulties of eating healthy that affordable housing residents face. And then also we do scholarships. We give out scholarships to those impacted negatively by affordable housing. Could be affordable housing residents or folks who want to make a difference in their lives, whether they are currently residents of affordable housing or not. So we do scholarships every year as well.
Cool. I want to talk about a lot of those things with Drew's permission, of course. But how long have you been with Allgire?
So that's a question that it's going to take a whole lot longer than this, but the short answer is I've known the Allgires for over 25 years.
Okay.
And have been in one capacity or another. A former life, I did something else. So I've been with Allgire General Contractors for about 14 years. Okay. And we started the Allgire Foundation about 4 years ago.
Okay, great. So did you kind of help spearhead this thing, or they just said, hey, you, Scott, do this thing? Or how did that kind of come about?
Again, short version of a longer story is when Rick and Mary Ann Allgire, who founded Allgire General Contractors, sold their company to their son Grant in early 2020. It's not like anything happened in 2020 that you'd not want to buy a business. Like there's some pandemic or anything that's coming. So if you want advice on how to sell high, Rick and Mary Ann are probably good people to chat with.
Sure.
So we wanted to give something besides a watch or a plaque or something to Rick and Mary Ann Allgire as a thank you. So we created the Allgire Foundation. So it would be a legacy type gift, a nonprofit that they could continue to work at as in their retirement. We thought they'd be bored and not doing anything. So we wanted to keep their name alive because they had done so much for affordable housing in their 30 plus years of operating Allgire General Contractors.
That's amazing.
You know, now the spring harvest is April 6th, correct?
It is.
And you go and find those folks, they don't come to you. Is that correct, or am I wrong on that?
You're not wrong on that. So as much as we would love to have everybody there, we have a group of affordable housing developers, the architects and engineers who design and engineer those projects, a lot of our trade partners, subcontractors that work on those projects, and a lot of folks that have been a part of Allgire General Contractors or the Allgire Foundation. We usually have about 300 people that come out, and we assemble, in this year, we're going to do 16,000 bags of fresh fruits and vegetables, and we'll deliver those to over 170 affordable housing communities in San Diego.
And so how many people will be impacted by that? Literally 16,000?
16,000 bags go
Wow.
to 16,000 residents.
Well, that is absolutely fantastic. Is that more than you've done before? Is that about the average for every spring harvest?
So the last 2 spring harvests that we did before this one, it averaged closer to 15,000.
Nice.
We want to try to do more, so I picked up the phone and tried to find a few more developers and owners
Great.
that would let us help their residents, and they're always absolutely willing to do so.
That is great. We're chatting with Scott Silber. He's the executive director of the Allgire Foundation. I'm Drew Schlosberg, as you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast. We are now in our 18th year. We are brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, doing great things in San Diego, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel. She's the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc., celebrating their 20th anniversary of this year. Kristen, other questions you have for Scott?
Always. I wondered if we could get into the scholarship program a little bit.
Absolutely. So we recognize that residents of affordable housing and folks that want to make a difference in affordable housing, we can help support them by giving them a leg up. College is expensive, or a trade school, or whatever it is that is going to help them hopefully break the cycle that they've unfortunately had to endure in living in affordable housing, which has been an awesome thing for them to help them move up. So we created different scholarships. One we have as the Mary Lou Allgire Memorial Scholarship. That's Rick Allgire's mother. The Mary Ellen Grant Scholarship. That's Mary Ann Allgire's mother. Unfortunately, have both passed away, but they're both very generous people. So we created those 2 scholarships. We have a couple of other scholarships that we give out, and so we find residents and or applicants that are willing to throw their hat in the ring, and we have a 7-member committee that reviews everything and ultimately hands out scholarships. We've done about 30 scholarships over the last 3 years, totaling about $40,000.
Wow. And is this kind of a rotating process? Do you do this annually? How does that kind of work?
We do it annually. We start in May. May 1st, we'll open up the application process. We'll close it about a month later, have everyone look at them, make their choices, and give them their money before the school year starts.
That's great. And so the criteria is that they have to be in affordable housing. Is there any other criteria? No, you're shaking your head at me.
I'm shaking my head. We're not limiting it to just residents of affordable housing. It's anyone that's been impacted or wants to make a difference in affordable housing, whether that's a resident, and so oftentimes they are, or it's someone who's just trying to give back and wants to get into some sort of public administration or nursing or whatever the type of arena they want to be in.
Okay. Yeah.
That's great. And again, I think it's something that you folks are doing within the developers and in your foundation yourself. You're not asking for food for the food banks and all that business, or the money for donors for the scholarships, or am I wrong on that?
We love donors. So
Yeah. Okay.
absolutely,
Gotcha. I stand corrected.
As much as a lot of it comes out of our pocket, we would love to have more folks donate. So you can go to allgirefoundation.org at any time and become a donor. And for us, we hit up our contacts in the affordable housing world, the folks who do the hammers and nails, our subcontractors. We're going to ask them nicely if they want to help out, and oftentimes, and most times they do.
When we come back from break, we'll talk a little bit more about the folks that you serve. Those folks are working going from one affordable housing project to another, whatever the case may be. You're curious to see, you're seeing the same folks that are going there, or not really. When they stay at one place, they're probably there for a while. And then we always save some time, Scott, at the second half of the show to ask, what can our listeners do to support your efforts? The volunteer, we already heard about donations and that, or other things that you have in mind. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Right back with Scott Silber. He's the executive director of the Allgire Foundation. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, as we're broadcasting from this very cool Mission Fed studio in Scripps Ranch, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel, the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We're the nation's longest-running community podcast. We are brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for more than 60 years, doing great things for us folk who live here in San Diego County. Honored to have in the studio with us today Scott Silber. He's the executive director of the Allgire Foundation. I am joined, as I always am, by my co-host, Kristen Fogel, the executive director of San Diego Writers Inc., celebrating their 20th anniversary this year. Kristen, what are the questions that you have for Scott?
I think you wanted to get into a little bit about some of the challenges that the affordable housing community, faces. And I think that you talked about, do they bounce around and things like that? So
right. Are you seeing some of the folks that you've given to previously are moving from a different affordable housing unit, or they pretty much stay in one? And pretty much depends probably on their situation, I imagine.
Residents of affordable housing, once they're able to get into a community,
Right.
they typically stay in that community for as long as they can.
Right.
So as long as they can afford it. And that's what affordable housing is. It gives them a little bit of a boost through lots of different programs. So once you're in, you try to stay in as long as you can.
Right. Is there a long waiting list for affordable housing? I'm sure the answer is yes.
The answer is extremely long.
Yeah. And listen, Chris and I talk about this all the time when we're dealing with different groups that work with folks who are underrepresented. San Diego is not the most inexpensive place to live.
It's not. And that's one of the reasons the Allgire Foundation tries to raise awareness of food insecurities and inflation and eating healthy, because rent takes a lot of the money out of your pocket.
It does.
You don't have much left for other things that a lot of us might take for granted.
Right. Yeah. There's no question about that. So, with that, what can our listeners do? Obviously, donations are very important. Other things they can do.
Yeah. For us, absolutely, donations are important, but we love volunteers. We have a lot of different opportunities, whether it's like our spring harvest, where we're going to have 300 or so volunteers come and package up fresh fruits and vegetables. The move-in kits have to be put together by somebody. So we always welcome folks into our Allgire General Contractors warehouse, where we set it up in the back and move out hammers and nails and clean it up so that it's able to be a assembly line for move-in kits. All they have to do is contact me, and I'd be happy to help them find something fun to do.
Yeah. How do they get a hold of you?
They can email me at ssilber@allgirefoundation.org. It's the best way.
Right. Now, do you work with, literacy at all? I mean, obviously you give them kits for food and for, pots and pans and all that. Books at all?
So we're a nimble and small organization. There's just a couple of us. So we're able to shift and move to do whatever it is that might be needed. So we've absolutely participated in drives to put books in bags, to put school supplies together. We've bought backpacks and filled them up with things that, again, a lot of us might take for granted, but are needed by residents of affordable housing just to get into the fall, school program without having something that the rest of the kids might already have.
Yeah, Kristen is laughing. You can't see her laughing on the internet, of course, because my job is to create more work for people, no matter how nimble they are. Kristen knows this all so well.
Every single interview, I'm donating. I'm donating time or money or this, which is great. Drew.
because she's so willing to do that. Well, actually, to be honest with you, hear about so many great stories like yours. And, we've been honored for 18 years to interview such a wide variety of people doing great things in this community. And you don't know everybody until they get on to tell their story.
Yeah, absolutely. We have some amazing nonprofits. It's why I keep sticking around. I mean, it's so inspiring, honestly.
It really is on that. But getting back to the books, we work very closely with the San Diego Council on Literacy. When I worked with the San Diego Union Tribune for a zillion years, Mrs. Copley, the late the founder and owner of the Copley Press, the San Diego Union Tribune was the flagship, founder of the San Diego Council on Literacy, and they've been going on since 1986. Jose Cruz is the venerable executive director. He's been on the show like innumerable times. And while their really job is not to do big book distribution, they've almost turned into it because they're getting these massive amounts of books donated and they're getting out. So if that's something that's not creating more work for you, or if it's something that, if they can deliver the books to our warehouse or something, would that be of benefit?
We're always open to helping residents of affordable housing in whatever way we can, and we're not so stuck in our ways that we can't do something different and if there's a need to fill.
Yeah, and just knowing that it makes it easier for you that you go to that warehouse and whatever it is for the dropping off of books, or is it clothes? Is it without? Obviously, you have a very nimble staff. It's probably just you, and that we can certainly make some comments to the folks that come in the show. Kristen, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I know we're wrapping up soon here, but I wanted to see, do you have any inspiring stories? What kind of keeps you doing the work that you're doing, I guess? Do you get to see people firsthand, and can you kind of speak to that, what that impact is?
Absolutely. And for us, oftentimes you're behind the scenes, so you don't necessarily see and have that feeling of what you're doing is making an impact. But sometimes, and it's happened several times, but most recently off of our last spring harvest, I got a voicemail from a resident of an affordable housing community, a senior, and she spent the time to find my number, make the call, and leave just a lovely message about how much this bag of fresh fruits and vegetables meant to her. And she knew what went into putting that together and was just tickled pink that she was able to have this sitting on her door. And I keep that message and I play it whenever I need to pick me up from having a bad day.
I love that. And I think people don't realize the impact of doing something like that.
Oh, it's huge.
Not to turn it back to Raiders Inc., but I started this program that will start at the beginning of April called Letter Lounge. And it's just based on people writing letters to each other and just expressing gratitude, or I haven't seen you in a while, or this, because it's really that stuff that makes the difference. I did a big book thing for my kid's school, and it was one letter from some kid that was like, I love the book drive, that I was like, all right, I'll do this every year for the rest of my life. People don't realize that.
They don't. And one of the things we try to do is we get our volunteers together to make sure that they're bringing their kids so that they can see this is what happens when you volunteer. These are the feelings that you can get. And we try to make it fun. We try to give out some fun things, hats and shirts, and, for other people, wine, whatever it takes to get them to come.
Wine. You waited this long to talk about the wine?
Well, we might have an Allgire Foundation blend of wine.
Oh, my. All right. You have Drew's
to.
attention now. So
yes, that's right.
We'll be at the next event. We'll bring our own cups.
Yeah, Kristen and I are starting a tasting business. And so we will give our services for free to test it out and make sure it's all good. Again, chatting with Scott Silber, who's the executive director of the Allgire Foundation. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. Now in our 18th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union for 6 decades, doing just great things for folk who live in San Diego County, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel, the executive director of San Diego Writers Inc. It's interesting when you talk about this and the letters, or you get some gratitude back from someone, it goes such a long way. And that's wonderful that the volunteers bring their kids to see, what is going on. We say about almost on a daily basis or a weekly basis on the show, Scott, that yes, you are helping this family, with some, clothes or some food or some scholarships, but think about what you've done for them from a mental stress relieving standpoint, so to speak, where we have a crisis in this country. We already know that with mental stress. Certainly a lot of it deals with the finances. You've now reduced that by sitting there reaching out to those folks. Talk about how important that is.
Well, thank you. And, we hope we can make a difference like that. And that is part of what drives us to do what we do. And like I said, a message like that is just a small token of appreciation. And then, sometimes it's a little bit bigger. So you're able to see someone face to face when you're dropping off a move-in kit and bringing it to their door, knocking on their door, and hearing their story a little bit. It's pretty easy to keep going doing what we're doing.
So those 300 volunteers on Spring Harvest, or whatever the case may be, are they actually delivering all the kits to those, huge family, 16,000 folks, so to speak?
So it's 170 communities spread from Fallbrook down to the border, all the way east and to the beach. So we're going to do our best to deliver them all on Saturday.
Wow.
Not going to happen.
Right.
I'll get my kid off the couch and we'll do some on Sunday.
Yeah.
She'll be on the couch on Monday. We'll do that as well. And we'll probably be delivering through Wednesday.
Right. And so then, but they're using their cars to deliver this to the unit, right? And everybody gets to the 170 of them around the county, correct?
So what we're going to do is we're going to rent a couple of big trucks.
Sure.
We've learned some lessons over the years. We're going to rent some big trucks.
Gotcha.
Put them in the big trucks and tell folks to meet us around the corner, and we'll start delivering.
Well, if my former business was still delivering papers out here, we did that a couple of times with the San Diego Union Tribune, big moving trucks, of course. And when there were some issues, we actually used our trucks with some of the big earthquakes that happened and deliver some things. But since we don't print the paper out here anymore, we can't help you in that area. But maybe we can find some other businesses that we used to work with in that area. Scott, any final comments that we can do to help support the Allgire Foundation?
Well, one, volunteer.
Right.
Whether it's with us or with anybody else. As you guys have said, it's something that is easy to do, takes just a couple of minutes, and the reward lasts for a whole lot longer than a couple of minutes.
That's great. Shout out again the website one more time.
AllgireFoundation.org.
Well, always enjoy talking to the wonderful foundations, Kristen. I know you agree that are just doing great things for those folks that may not have even close to what they need to be sustainable in this very expensive county, and that's exactly what you folks are doing. So hats off to you, Scott.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me.
I absolutely wish you nothing but great success. Scott Silber, Executive Director of the Allgire Foundation. I'm Drew Schlosberg. This is another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. Kristen Fogel, thank you so much for another great job of co-hosting. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. We hope you enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.